Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be checking out the number 7 Stay Perfect Foundation. So this is supposed to be 24-hour wear. It has SPF 15. It comes in 24 shades. I think in the US it has less shades because I think number 7 is fairly new over there. So I think you have more like 12. But yeah, we have 24 in the UK. It's medium to full coverage. It doesn't really describe its finish very well online, but I'd say it's like a natural satin type finish. It seems to be transfer proof, weatherproof and life proof, so we'll see. It also says it's good for all skin types including oily skin, so let's see how we get on. Okay, so as always I'm going to be using my Stila One Step Correct because as you guys know, if you've seen my foundation reviews before, this is your sort of standard primer that just lays down a nice base for your foundation, but it's not going to change the way the foundation works. It's not going to alter the finish or make it mega luminous or mega matte or anything that it wouldn't have done by itself. So it's just a really good way of giving a base to the foundation without it helping the foundation do anything it wouldn't do by itself. But also just say that I'm not going to go anywhere near my brows because if you don't know, I've just recently had them microbladed and they're still healing, so I can't put makeup near them. So if you wonder what on earth is going on, that is why. So this is what the bottle looks like. It has the pull-off cap and pump inside. It's a really nice glass bottle. Nothing that special about it. It's just okay. Gonna give it a good shake. Now I have had this foundation for quite a while, so I do know that I much prefer the application with a sponge, so I'm going to use a sponge for my whole face because I don't believe that this works well with a brush. It leaves too many brush strokes. It just doesn't blend in as well, so I recommend using it with a beauty blender. I will also just say that you can see my beauty blender has got some holes and some patches. Now I got this beauty blender for my birthday, which is in January, and we are now into September and this has just happened, so fair play. So I'm going to start off with one pump, and as you can see it is a really thick consistency, like it's hardly moving on my sponge, and that is a decent pump. It is, it does have a fairly strong scent. So if you are really anti, you know, scented things or perfumed things, maybe stay away from this one. Now, as you can see, when I first put that on, I don't know how well it came across on camera, but it is too dark for me, this shade. This is my sort of post-holiday shade. So me when I'm at my most tan, it's probably pushing like an NC40, but what I do really like about it is really nice olive toned. I really struggle to find olive toned foundations for my skin to match my skin tone, and this one is a really nice olive, but it is funny because when you first put it on it looks so dark and so olive that you're a bit like, but as you start blending it out it does calm down. It does. So now it actually doesn't look too bad in comparison to my body. It's just maybe a shade too dark. Initially, as you put this on, it looks really dewy, but it does dry down to more of a natural finish. There's a couple of places where it sort of wanted to like stick to. I don't have dry skin, I have very normal skin with a slightly, very slightly oily T-zone. And I did feel like it was just sticking to odd places, and it was fairly easily blended back out with the sponge, but I'm not sure why it's doing that. Okay, so that's one good layer. So that was like 2.5 pumps, and that I'd say is giving me like a light to medium coverage. You can still see my redness a little bit. You can still see some of my beauty spots, and you can still see a little bit of my pigmentation up here. So I'm going to go in with another half pump and just sort of dab that all over the places I feel need a little bit more coverage. I wonder if you guys can see how much darker that initially goes on, and also how dewy this currently is looking. But we'll see once I've finished my makeup that it doesn't stay this dewy. I'm really scared of the spider that's up there. It looks dead, but it's so high up, it's hard to tell, and it is a big one. That's around 3 pumps now, and I would say that that is giving me now like a good medium coverage. You can still see my sort of little beauty marks, as I like to call them, but other than that, my redness, my discoloration and things like that are like pretty well covered, but it still kind of looks like you can see my skin through it a little. It's really smooth, it does look really smooth. My face looks really like plumped, and the skin and like all of my sort of texture and everything looks a bit reduced. I'm gonna wonder how my smile lines are gonna be doing by the time my makeup is finished, because it's just sneaking in there now. So I'm imagining by the time my makeup's done, it'll be up in those smile lines. I had no issues around my textured area on my chin, no issues around my nose or between my brows to speak of, and no patchiness really anywhere. So far, so good. So I now finish my makeup and I'll be back. Hello, that is the rest of my makeup done. I've gone in with bronzer, blush and highlight and all that stuff. I have not set with powder and I have not used a setting spray because I want to see how long the foundation lasts by itself. So it is now 11 AM, so I will be back at approximately 7 PM or later. So we give it a really good 8 hours. It's really humid today, and there's bits of drizzle, shall we say, flying about. So yeah, we'll give it a good go. I've got to run around town, do some more filming, do some editing, so it'll be a busy day. So we'll give it a decent 8-hour test and see how it lives up to that 24-hour claim. We'll see. I took a quick flash photo so that you guys can see it does have SPF in it, so you'd expect to see some white cast. It's not terrible. It has maybe a slight white cast there, but it's not terrible. It's certainly not the worst I've seen. So yeah, probably wouldn't recommend it for a night out, but it wouldn't be the worst foundation for white cast. Not necessarily gonna, you know, ruin all your photos. So let's have a little zoom in and look up close what we're dealing with. So as you can see, like I thought, it has kind of dried down just slightly more matte. It's not a matte finish necessarily, it is more of a sort of natural or satin, I would say. I've not really got any issues as far as it emphasizing any pores or texture. I'd say maybe the texture on my chin, which is my main area of concern, is maybe slightly better than without foundation. So it has maybe given me a bit of smoothing there. It has settled into my smile line as I thought it looked like it might. It is definitely not the worst I've seen for that though, and 99.9% of my foundations do that. And this is not bad at all, really. So I'm quite impressed with that. There's no weirdness around my nose. There's a tiny little bit of like, I don't know, caking in between my eyebrows, but that's probably down to the fact that I can't sort of blend into my brows like normal, so that's probably more my fault than anything else. So yeah, so far, so good. I'd say it has quite a natural finish. I really love, like I said, the olive tone of this shade. If you have like NC 35 to 40-ish skin with an olive undertone, I feel like this would be a really good find for you, because I know how hard it is to find olive undertones in that kind of shade range. No weirdness on my forehead. My lines don't look emphasized, but they don't look reduced either. So if you're looking for that, this isn't the one for you. Yeah, I guess like pretty much so far so good. It's not like wowing me, but there's definitely no real major issues for a sort of drugstore foundation, but a higher price point drugstore foundation. So I would want this to last better than like the foundations that cost more like £6 or £7, because it's almost, it is double the price of a lot of drugstore foundations. It's more sort of mid-range, if anything. So yeah, I have high hopes. I want this to be perfect at the 8-hour mark. That's what I want. It's supposed to be weatherproof, transfer proof, all those things, 24-hour wear. So by 8 hours, I would expect it to be totally flawless still. So let's see how we go. I'll see you in a few. Hi everybody, welcome back. So it's actually a little bit later than I had planned. So it's about 8:30 here, and so this foundation has been on for like well over 9 hours. So we've given it a really good try. Like I said, it's been really hot here today and humid, and I have been running about, doing errands, playing with my kids, you know, rubbing faces, all that stuff that is good for testing foundations. I haven't noticed any transfer. Like I have been like, you know, wrestling my children and all kinds of things like that, and I haven't noticed any transfer like on their clothes or anything, which is a really good sign. And I mean, you can see already, like my highlight, my blush, my bronzer, everything is still really there. So that is a really good sign. Let's just zoom in. So, so you can see I'm not really looking particularly oily anywhere. There is, obviously I've got my highlights, so that's just there. But my forehead's looking pretty okay. My chin is looking good still, like just show you really close up. Here's where it's sunk into that smile line, but it hasn't got any worse throughout the rest of the day. My chin is only just starting to peek through some redness there. My nose is still looking really good, even around here. There is really just the first signs of fading under here. And we are, like I said, 9 hours in. All in all, huge thumbs up to this foundation for like a drugstore, higher range drugstore, £15 foundation. Pretty happy with that. I don't think I mentioned my shade earlier, so I've got the shade Warm Sand, which is actually working okay for me. It's probably the equivalent of like an NC 35, I would say. A really nice olive undertone to it, not too warm or yellow or orange. It is like very olivey, which is perfect for my undertone. I would really recommend this. I think it's quite natural. It's obviously got a pretty good long wearing formula. It goes on nicely. It doesn't have too strong of a smell. It's got SPF 15 in it. It's got a lot going for it. For a drugstore foundation, it's probably my favorite that I've ever used. I can't think of one that I prefer so far. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was useful for you. Please don't forget to like and subscribe so I can see you again. Take care for now. Bye 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 bye.